astu shubham bhuyat vasudeva sutam devam kansachanuramardhanam devaki paramanandam krishnam vande jagadguru. Hari Om. Last week we started chapter 16 and we covered the first two verses. Chapter 16 is entitled The Division Between the Divine and the Demoniac Qualities. So this refers to human beings which are basically divided into two categories. One are those who have divine qualities, and the more and more divine qualities a human being has, then liberation is more possible. And the more and more demoniac qualities a human being has, then you are subject to come back for repeated births. So verses 1, 2, and 3 of chapter 16, Lord will give us 26 divine qualities for us to use as a checklist and try to follow and try to make sure that we have some or even better still all of these qualities. Then in verse 4, he will give us the 6 demoniac qualities which we are to avoid. So we have covered some of the divine qualities in verses 1 and 2. Now we look at further qualities starting from verse number 3. So the next quality in verse number 3, Krishna says is Tejaha. Now the word Tejaha has got many meanings. It in simple meaning of Tejaha is brilliance. Something that is bright is called Tejaha. But in this context, it means spiritual maturity. So that inner maturity, and you can see it on the faces of those realized people, a kind of a spiritual glow or a shine. So that's why we say Tejaha. They seem to have some kind of a shine or glow on their faces. But what does this reflect? This Tejaha or this shine on the faces of this realized soul, they reflect the inner qualities of the mind. That is calmness, compassion, humility, etc. So we see this radiant glow in very highly realized persons, and we can see it also through their actions, the way they behave, and also through their words that they use, very calm, soft, soothing words, the way they speak also. But what is this real calmness, real what we call spiritual maturity? So there is a little story that might explain this. There once was a king, and he instructed his ministers to send out a message to all the citizens of the kingdom that who could paint a picture of tranquility. Anyone who can paint a beautiful picture of tranquility will get a very handsome reward from the king. So many people submitted their paintings. Out of this, the king shortlisted 2 paintings. The first painting showed a beautiful valley, mountains in the background, blue skies, white clouds, trees, beautiful trees with flowers, animals grazing. Everything is beautiful, sunshine, everything very peaceful and tranquil. The second painting showed thunder, lightning, heavy rain, gushing waterfalls, dark clouds. So, which one do you think reflected tranquility? The first painting or the second painting? Most of us will say second painting, right? But the king said it is the second painting. Why? Because he told his ministers, look very closely at the waterfall. Behind the waterfall, a bird had managed to sneak in, and there was a crevice in the rocks. The bird had built a nest. And among all this confusion, turbulence, and lightning and heavy rain, the bird was patiently feeding the 2 chicks in a nest, regardless of the environment around. So, through peace of mind, through stability or inner happiness, is very easy for us to attain when everything around us is calm and peaceful. Everybody can attain that. state of peace and tranquility. But that person who can attain peace and tranquility among all the turbulence that is going around, that is through stability, that is through peace of mind. So, regardless of the external situation, so when we talk about this quality, tejaha, this inner spiritual glow, calmness of mind, must be not just when everything is going very well in your life, but you must be able to maintain that same balance. In the Gita, it's called samatvam. So the mind is very stable. It doesn't go according to the external environment. So that is the real meaning of tejaha, to be tranquil in all terms of situations and conditions. Next quality is given as chama. Chama means forgiveness. And again, when can you practice forgiveness? When can you practice real forgiveness? Only when it comes to the time when we are insulted, when we are ridiculed, when we are criticized, then only that feeling of forgiveness must come, right? So we must understand that we must have the capacity to face these kind of situations. When we are insulted, when we are ridiculed, when we are criticized, that is the time when we must have this quality arise in us, this chama of forgiveness. But the question always we ask ourselves is, why should I forgive that person? He has insulted me, he has criticized me, he has ridiculed me. Why should I have this attitude of forgiveness? What is the real reason why we should cultivate this attitude of forgiveness, Chama? What is the real reason? Huh? Exactly. When you forgive that person, who experiences that peace of mind? You yourself will experience that peace of mind. As long as you don't forgive that person, you hold a grudge, you hold anger or frustration, you are the one who's going to lose your peace of mind, not that person who you're targeting your anger or what you call your bad thoughts to. So the forgiveness actually is more for us to enjoy a tranquil peace of mind. And what we can do, the best way to forgive a person, to help us to maintain that tranquil mind and to forgive that person, is to pray to the Lord for that person. May the person change. May the person have a different attitude in life and not be so, what we call, aggressive or always keep on ridiculing people. So we can send out good thoughts, good prayers to that person in order for us to maintain that tranquil mind. It is not easy, but we have to do it for our sake, not for that person's sake. Next quality is dhriti. This is a very, very important quality. Dhriti means fortitude. What is fortitude? The capacity to persevere and to overcome all the obstacles, especially on the spiritual path, not to give up. In chapter 2, verse 14, Krishna called this quality as titiksha. Chapter 2, verse 14, he used the word titiksha. Titiksha also means the same thing, to withstand all kinds of challenges and obstacles that come in our life. When you lead a decadent life, there's no problem. If you want to let go, you don't have a discipline in your life, you want to do whatever your mind says, whatever your senses say, that is not a problem. You don't need to have fortitude for that. But fortitude is practiced especially when you're trying to discipline yourself, trying to discipline this mind, the senses, and then you find so many challenges out there which are distracting your mind, distracting your senses, so many obstacles on our spiritual path. So, the driti is one of the divine qualities for anybody who can maintain, what you call, face the challenges and keep going firmly on that spiritual path. That itself is a very rare and very divine quality. Swami Chinmayananda said, he coined a simple phrase. He said, stop. He told his devotees, stop, not till the goal is attained. So you only stop when the goal is attained. Otherwise, you should not stop. You should carry on what you're doing with conviction, with dedication, carry on. Because there are many obstacles, especially on the spiritual path, and especially when you're trying to discipline your mind and your senses. Next quality he gave us is saucham. Saucham means purity. But purity doesn't mean just wearing clean clothes and keeping your environment clean. There are other grades of purity. Purity also means keeping your thoughts also pure. Because if you have impure thoughts, what happens when you have impure thoughts? Huh? It creates agitation in the mind. Then how do you settle this agitation? There's agitation, there's impure thoughts, there's agitation in your mind. How do you how do you neutralize this? It comes out by your speech, right? That agitation will come out through your speech or come out through your actions. So to maintain that peaceful mind, the pure mind is also not easy, because we have seen before that there are three ways that you can handle the mind. One is when impure thoughts arise, you suppress the thoughts. Keep on suppressing, suppressing, suppressing. But it can only work for a short while, because those thoughts will come up again. The other way, which is even more dangerous, is to express those thoughts. Whatever impure thoughts come into your mind, you just go ahead and do it. Say whatever you want to say, do whatever you want to do, which is very destructive. So the third and only logical way is to divert the mind into satsang. So that's why satsang is important. Going to temples, chanting your mantras, all this is very important to keep on diverting the mind, to make sure it doesn't go back into the wrong territory. So purity must be at mental level. It also must be practiced at speech level. Be very careful about the type of words you use. Aggressive words, foul words, hurtful words. And that's why they say we should get up early in the morning and practice some meditation to, to make the mind steady, to make the mind pure. Or either read something from the scriptures, read something very positive. That's why sometimes I'm surprised. A few days ago, I was out walking in the park, early morning, 7:30, and there's this guy who's wearing all his jogging gear, very hyped up and all that. Got his what do you call, huh? Not even headphones on. He had a sort of a speaker he was carrying, and it was blasting music like full blast. Can you imagine 7:30 in the morning? He's blasting this music full blast. But that was not the worst part. The worst part was, out of every three words, the lyrics, two words were foul words. So can you imagine somebody like that starting his early morning with such blasting music, and out of every three, four words in the music, two or three were foul words, and he's blasting it all over the park. Everybody is hearing it. So can you imagine what a way to start the morning? If you start the morning like that, you think by afternoon what type of person you're going to be? You're going to be shouting at everybody with foul words already, isn't it? So purity at mental level, purity at speech level, and purity at the body level, to keep the body and the environment clean, right? So Saucham covers all the three areas also. The next quality here he gives in the second line of verse 3 is Adroho. Adroho again has many, many meanings. One of the meanings taken here is uh, freedom from envy. And of course, who do we envy? Who are the people we envy? People who have less than us or people who have more than us? People who have more than us. Always we envy people who have more than us. Bigger car, bigger house, better job, traveling always on holiday. I can't do that, so I envy those people. So there's a beautiful verse in the Isavasyam Upanishad, the very first verse. It says, Isavasyam idam sarvam yat kimcha jagatyam jagat tena tyaktena bunjita ma grida kasya svidanam. The very first, it's a very short Upanishad, only 20 verses. But the first verse says, Everything in this world is subject to change, and everything is enveloped here by the Lord. That means Lord is the one who is gracing everything. Whatever is changing in this world is the Lord is in control of everything. So how should we live our lives knowing that everything in this world is changing? Today somebody might be very rich, very powerful. Tomorrow that same person can be down somewhere. So karma is like that. You will get what you're supposed to get. There's no point for us to compare. So this Isavasyam Upanishad says, with the attitude of renunciation, enjoy what you have. Now, when it says enjoy what you have with the attitude of renunciation, means what? It means understand, not to say whatever you have, enjoy it, but understand anytime it can come, anytime also it can go also. So don't be attached to that. And he says the second advice he gives is do not covet what others have. Don't compare what you have with others have. That is the most dangerous thing that can cause disturbance in our mind when we start comparing. Why? Because my karma is different. What I will get because of my karma is different. That person's karma is so much more better. He is going to get more better things than me. Is no point for me to envy, feel jealous of him. Whatever is deserved to get, he will get. Nobody can stop that person's karma. You cannot put any blockage. If he's going to get that, he will get that. So don't waste your time, don't waste your energy by being jealous or envious of and comparing with what other people have. So the quality is adraho, means free from envy. Let go, just enjoy whatever you have as the grace of the Lord here. The next quality he gives here is na atimanita. Na means non, atimanita means haughtiness or absence of pride. Practicing modesty, and especially when we need to practice modesty is when we do a lot of good things, when we have a lot of possessions, then people come and praise us, people come and shower so many praises on us. It is very difficult at that time, but we have to remain humble. And how do we remain humble? We have to remember to thank the Lord for everything we have attained or achieved. So we should not have that attitude that I have attained this, I have achieved this because of my effort. That's what brings about the ego. So we must always thank the Lord for whatever He has given us. And who is the best example of the egoless person in our scriptures? Who's the best example? The one who really had no ego, kept on doing all the work, but had no ego. Hanuman himself, isn't it? So there is this very um, favorite story or common story of Hanuman told to show that such a person he was, that he just did his work, surrendered everything to the Lord, and he had no ego. When Hanuman was sent out to search for Sita, he went to Lanka and he found her there. The minute he found her, he knew that Rama was in total distress. Rama wanted to know where is this Sita, and he had sent everyone to go and search for her. So he said, I must now, since I found Sita, I must rush back and inform Rama that I found her. And when he went back, what is the first thing you think that Rama wants to hear from him? Huh? Don't know. You say, I know there's a danger here. You see, what is I? I is ego. So, what is the first word Rama wanted to hear? Found. Right? The first word that will, he's in such a state of worry, such a state of distress, grief. The first thing that you want to tell him is what? The word found. So, otherwise, if you have ego, what you will say? I found her or I found Sita. But he went the other way. He said, found Sita. I. I comes last. It is not important. I am not important. What is more important is the action that I do. That is most important. That's a good question. Sorry, what is it? Kande. Kande means what? Saw. Okay. So I'm not sure in Sanskrit what it is, but what is difficult to say? Found. Yeah. No, because we are used to starting every sentence with I. But we have to get that out of our mind. So, and then normally, of course, we try to be humble. We don't say I. What do we say? We did it, right? So we did it, at least a little bit more humble. But Hanuman said, found Sita, I. Because I was not important to him. And he knew that was what Rama was waiting to hear. Such is a symbol of modesty was Hanuman. So now Lord has given us all these 26 qualities. Now he's summarizing in verse number 3. He says, Bhavanti, these qualities, these 26 qualities will arise. Abhijatasya, they are born or they arise where they are called Daivim. They are the divine Sampadim. They are the divine nature. So any human being who has some or all of these qualities, it may be difficult to have all, but at least in some measure you have all these qualities, then that person is defined as a divine human being, as a divine human being. And what happens when you have more and more of these qualities? We must understand. When you cultivate more and more of these qualities, the mind becomes purer. The mind becomes tranquil. The mind becomes dedicated to the Lord. And that's when our spiritual journey also becomes easier. So sometimes students do ask, why I find it so difficult to on the spiritual part. I'm not progressing. Why you're not progressing? Because of these 26 qualities. If you have these 26 qualities, in some measure, you will find your spiritual progress much more easier also. So these qualities lead to purity of mind. So two things are very important. Just like a bird needs two wings to fly. So the Upanishad says also, knowledge and action are like the two wings of a bird. So when we have purity of mind, we do right actions. When we have purity of mind, there is a yearning for spiritual knowledge. So you get knowledge, you have right action, and that's how we can fly spiritually also. So the Upanishad says knowledge and action are like two wings of a bird. Both are important. So we have to start first by cultivating all these right qualities, the divine qualities in us. And Krishna addresses Arjuna as Bharata. Bharata means descendant from the Bharata dynasty. The Bharata dynasty was a very noble and pure dynasty. So he is reassuring Arjuna that you have come from a pure and noble lineage. So definitely your mind is very receptive to spiritual, what we call spiritual teachings. And that's why he chose Arjuna also, because Arjuna surrendered to the Lord. He was prepared to listen. Listening is a very important quality, and you must listen with faith also. So now he has given us these qualities. Now we'll go on to verse 4, and this is where Krishna will talk about the 6 demoniacal qualities which we must try to avoid also. Okay. So definitely we talk about divine qualities, they are sattvic. Demonical qualities are mainly rajasic and tamasic type of qualities also. Okay. Uh, and who are the demoniacal people? What is it that differentiates demoniacal people from divine people? Demoniac people are those who give prominence in life to karma. What is karma? Kama. Karma means selfish desires. So this is the nature of demoniac people. They give prominence to satisfying selfish desires. When you give prominence to satisfying selfish desires, then you will even violate dharma in order to satisfy your desire. So, what about divine people? Divine people give what we call prominence to cultivating divine desires, or what we call selfless desires. So, selfless desires are called nishkama karma. Selfish desires are called sakama karma. The word is there, K-A-M-A, kama. Sakama means with selfishness, I do my actions. Nishkama means devoid of selfishness, I do my actions. That is the difference. So now we look at what are the demoniac qualities which we should avoid in verse number 4. The first one is dambaha. Dambaha, again, you see, all these Sanskrit words, they have many, many meanings, but we must look at the context in what they are applied. So, dambaha here means hypocrisy. Now, what is hypocrisy? If we talk about in common language, being a hypocrite means trying to be who you are not. So, you don't have money, but you want to show off to the world that you have money. So, what do people do nowadays? They don't earn that much, but they want to keep up with the world, keep up with everybody else. So what do they do? Huh? How do you maintain that lifestyle? Borrow. So credit card debt, isn't it? Everybody is borrowing. Now they have even buy now, what you call buy now, pay later, right? You don't have money, never mind, doesn't matter. You buy first, you pay later, you think about it later. What is all the what is all the purpose of this? Is to maintain a lifestyle that is beyond your means. It is beyond your means. That is hypocrisy. You try to portray yourself as something that you are not. And even this goes to the point when people try to project themselves as they are pure. They are good people, but actually their thoughts are impure. So all that falls under hypocrisy also. Kabir, the great sage, he wrote a beautiful couplet. He said, Jab tu ayo jagat mein, when you came into this world, log hase, people were laughing. Tu roe, you were crying. Right, isn't it? When babies come into this world, they all come in crying. But the world around them is laughing. So he says, Jab tu ayo jagat mein, when you came into this world, log hase, people were laughing. Tu roe, you were crying. Then he says in the second half, Karni aisi kar chalo, do such great deeds, do such fantastic good things in this world that when you leave this world, tu hase jak roe, you will leave the world laughing and smiling, but the world will be crying to see such a great noble person go. Now, that is the meaning that Kabir has put there. But the evil minded people look at it a different way. They say they agree with the first half of the verse. When you came into this world, you were crying, people were laughing. The second half of the verse says, what? Do such things that when you leave this world, you are laughing, people are crying. So, what they say, borrow as much money as you can, borrow money, lead a lavish lifestyle, don't pay back anybody. So, when you die and leave this world, what happens? Everyone, your creditors are crying, but you are laughing. Don't take that advice, huh, please. But this is the nature of demoniac people. This, especially this quality, dambaha, hypocrisy, to do or to act or to behave in a way that is not your style, not your standard also. Okay. Second quality is called darpa, arrogance. Now, arrogance is only, see, first is the first quality was what you don't have, but you try to portray. Darpa is arrogance. You have everything. You have a lot of money, you have wealth, you have title, you have fame, you have everything you have. But arrogance is what? What is arrogance? Looking down on people who have lesser than you. That is arrogance. Ridiculing people, making them feel inferior. That is arrogance. And even to the point that these people, when they give charity, they give with such arrogance that they even shame the receiver. They tell the receiver, because of me, you should be thankful to people like me for giving all this money and for helping you out. That is arrogance to the extreme side. So this arrogance is people who have money but get so intoxicated with their money, their fame, their title, their position, that they look down, ridicule people and insult people. This is a one of the demoniac qualities. And then we come to the third quality, abhimanaha, which is ego. Now, here, abhimanaha means basically identification with this body. So, what are we so proud about this body? We are proud about our name, our title, our position, our power. So, what is ego? Ego is because I have name, I have title, I have position. When I come to see you, I expect you to bow down before me. I expect you to give me a good place to sit down. I expect you to serve me and respect me. And when I do good things, I expect you to announce it to everybody so everybody knows that I've done this thing. That is the ego. So when people don't recognize all the good things I've done, then what? My ego is hurt. So so at different levels we have this. We have dambo, darpa, abhimanaha at different levels. All these are demoniac qualities. And now we come to one of the worst demonic qualities, which is krodha, anger. So, anger is actually basically a lack of mastery over the mind. And how does anger develop? Anger is very closely related to desires. The more and more desires you have in your mind, the more and more desires, and that is the very nature of demoniac people, rajasic people. They keep on harboring more and more desires. Whatever they have, they're not happy. They want more and more and more. So, the more and more desires you have in your mind, what happens? When you have so many desires driving your mind, what happens? Huh? Before that, before you cannot fulfill, what is that? When you have tremendous amount of desires, you have to act to satisfy the desires, isn't it? Every desire requires a action to satisfy the desire. Now, so many multiple desires you have, how much action or how much activity you can do to satisfy? So, obviously, there will come a time when a number of your desires cannot be fulfilled. And when your desires cannot be fulfilled, depending on the intensity of your desires, and there is a obstacle, will result in the intensity of your anger or frustration or dejection or whatever you call it. So, so the thing is, everything starts again with cultivation of selfish desires. More the desires, the greater the chances of anger. Okay. So here again, anger is listed as one of the demoniac qualities also. And we will see in the later verses again how this anger develops. If you recall, in fact, earlier in chapter 2, Krishna has said that the biggest problem with anger is that even if you have good qualities, let's say you are a good person, you have good qualities in you. When anger arises, it suppresses all these right thinking and good qualities in you. So at that time, you don't have these good values. So then you do all the wrong things. You may hit somebody, you may shout some verbal abuses at a person. It's not that you don't have good qualities, but anger has a way of overpowering all these good qualities. So that's why anger is listed as a demoniac quality. Next demoniac quality is paurusham, rudeness or harshness, devoid of mercy, compassion. So you find joy in hurting others, either physically causing them pain or verbally abusing them, and you take joy in this to shout such words to and see people suffering because of your abusiveness, of your rudeness. Paurusham. Next quality given here is ajnanam. Jnanam is knowledge. You can understand. Ajnanam is ignorance. Now, when the Lord talks about ignorance, we are not talking about ignorance of worldly matters. You may have a degree, you may have a master's, you may have a PhD. We are not talking about that kind of ignorance. Here, the ignorance we are talking about is the spiritual type of ignorance. So, you may have a lot of worldly knowledge, you may be earning money and doing well in the world. But here he's talking about buddhi, ignorance of spiritual knowledge. So, the sad fact is, God has given all of us a buddhi. All the human beings have been equipped with buddhi. The buddhi is of two types. One is called the gross buddhi, gross intellect, which we use to gain all the knowledge of the world. The other is called the subtle intellect. The subtle intellect is to be used to gain the spiritual knowledge. Majority of us, we use our gross intellect, but we never exercise our subtle intellect. Because spiritual knowledge is so fine, so subtle, you need a lot of concentration, you need a lot of sacrifice to understand that. So, what is the what does ignorance create? Ignorance creates wrong knowledge. Wrong knowledge leads to wrong thinking, leads to wrong actions. So all this goes hand in hand. Wrong knowledge leads to wrong thinking, leads to wrong actions. And the only way to correct this is right knowledge leads to right thinking, leads to right actions also. But ajnanam is a quality of the demoniac people. And the reason again why they are in the state of ignorance is because of their arrogance. Whenever people tell them something, they refuse to listen. When people tell them to go for spiritual lectures, they say, what can devil teach me? I know everything. I don't need all these hi-fi lectures and all to tell me how to lead my life. I know how to lead my life. So they refuse to open their minds and listen to the right advice. So they develop ajnana. So now Lord summarizes all these qualities. He says in verse number 4, he says, Abhijatasya, these 6 qualities are, if they are prevalent in a human being, they are called a asurim or demoniac sampadam nature. So he's given us the divine qualities. If they are present in a human being, you are qualified to be called a deva. And if you have these qualities in you, then you are to be called a asura or a what we call a demon. Okay. So the word for in Sanskrit for what we call for devas is actually Surya. Surya is the name for the devas. So when you put a in front of that, it is asura, which means demoniac. So these are the two differences, divine and demoniac. So now Lord has given us the divine qualities, He's given us the demoniac qualities, but now He summarizes this. Where will divine qualities lead us? Where will demoniac qualities lead us? He explains to us in verse number 5 also. So he says, Daivi Sampad, divine nature, what is the benefit? More and more of these 26 divine qualities you have, what is the ultimate benefit? Daivi Sampad, divine nature, is conducive to vimokshaya, for liberation. So this is where all these divine qualities will take us towards moksha. They will take us towards liberation. Step by step, we will move closer and closer to the Lord. Okay. And he says, Asuri, the demoniacal people, where will the demoniac tendencies lead them? He says they are considered to be nibandaya. They will lead to bondage. What is this bondage? Bondage of repeated cycle of birth and deaths. So he has explained to us very clearly where do divine and where do demoniac qualities lead you. So now you have a choice. Do you have a choice? So you have a choice. We have the freedom to decide now whether we want to cultivate the divine or we want to cultivate the demoniacal tendencies or stay away from them. Now, we have nobody to blame but ourselves if we make the wrong choices in life. So, it is important for us to take note. He has given us the consequences. If you want to follow the divine tendencies, is up to you. But you should realize this is where we get trapped in the cycle of birth and deaths. And there is a way out if you follow the divine qualities. Okay. So in Vashishta Yoga, there's a text called Vashishta Yoga. It's a dialogue between Lord Rama and his guru Vashishta. And there the guru tells Lord Rama that there are 4 gateways to moksha. If you want to go to moksha, these are the 4 gateways, 4 practices. What are the 4 practices? The first, he says, is shanti. Have patience. Cultivate patience in yourself. Okay. Patience means to have patience with other people. So it is reverse to anger, right? When we don't have patience with people, we lose anger. So the first gateway to moksha is to cultivate shanti or patience. The second practice we should all do is vichara. Vichara means inquiry. Keep on reading the scriptures, inquiring what is the purpose of human birth, what is the goal of human birth, what is who is God, where is God, how do I attain God. That is all vichara. Okay. Second quality. Third is santosha. Santosha means to be content with what you have. That we've discussed also just now. Santosha. Don't keep comparing what you have to what others have. Be content with what you have. And the fourth one he says is sadhu sangha. Always seek the company of saints or of like-minded people who like to go for satsang. Cultivate the right company, the right type of people to mix with. So these are the 4 qualities. So now Krishna sort of wants to what you call give Arjuna some assurance. He says, Arjuna ma suchaha, do not grieve. After I've told you all the divine, now same thing, now I've told you the divine and demonic qualities. Now what is in your mind? Now what comes to your mind? Do I have the divine? Am I divine? Am I demoniac now? Isn't it? Now we start to think now. Do I have more divine qualities? Do I have more demonic qualities? So here Krishna is assuring Arjuna, Ma suchaha, do not grieve. Abhijataha asi, you are endowed with Daivi Sampat. You have divine tendencies. The very fact that you have surrendered to me, that you have been sitting here questioning me, listening to me with patience, you have the divine tendencies. So he assures Arjuna that you are ready to move or progress spiritually. So now that Krishna has explained about the divine and demoniac tendencies, he has also explained to us where divine tendencies will lead us, where demoniac tendencies will lead us. Now, from verses 6 to 21, 6 to 21, almost the whole chapter, he wants to elaborate further on demoniacal tendencies. So many verses he would take just to explain about demoniacal tendencies. Now, the question is we have to ask ourselves, why is Krishna telling us so much about demoniacal tendencies? Enough already, isn't it? He told us divine, demoniacal, full stop, finish. But now he's going to take verses 6 to 21 and he's going to further tell us about the demoniacal tendencies. Why? Why does he want to do that? Isn't telling us the 6 qualities good enough? So why does he want to take so many verses to explain about the demoniacal tendencies? Sorry? The consequences, yes, in a way, okay, you're true. So why he wants to tell us is that we be more alert and ensure that we stay away from these destructive tendencies. So he wants to reinforce this concept or idea that how dangerous are these demonic tendencies. And as we see the qualities, we can recognize, as he describes these demoniac tendencies, we can recognize many of these qualities we have in us. And sometimes, of course, we also see it in others also. So, since they lead us to spiritual degradation, Krishna wants to spend time to explain to us all this. So he says, Asmin Loke, in this world, there are dwau. There are only two types of uh, bhuta sargao. There are only two types of creation in this world. Excuse me. The whole world can be divided into two categories. That's what Krishna is saying here. Dwau, bhuta, sarge. What are the two classification? That means he's telling you there's no third classification. Either you fall into divine or you'll fall into demoniac. There's no more third classification. So what are the two classification? Daivi, those who are divine, that means those who have predominant sattvic gunas, or asuri. You fall into the demoniac tendency because you have more rajasic and tamasic gunas also. Okay. So mainly, actually, this advice is for who? It is for human beings. It is not for animals, plants, insects, and all, devas and asuras. Why is it mainly targeted to human beings? This advice is telling us is for human beings. Why? We are the ones with the buddhi to make the change because we can make the change. Because as far as animals, insects, all are concerned, they cannot change their tendencies anymore. Devas in the heaven, they also cannot change their tendencies. Asuras in hell also cannot change their tendencies. So primarily this is targeted to human beings who have the capacity to make the change also. So in the also in the Brihad Aranyaka Upanishad is mentioned there are two classes of people, the gods and the demons also. The gods meaning the divine people, the demoniac are the what you call the demons. Okay. So now let's see what he says. He says in this verse 5, Daiva Prokta Vistarasaha. Lord says, Daiva, the divine qualities, Proktaha, I've spoken about Vistarasa in detail because 26 qualities is given us already. So we have enough of knowledge to understand about the divine qualities. And in many places in the Gita also, Lord has spoken about all these divine qualities. Okay. Now he says, therefore, since I've given you so many divine qualities, and how many demoniac qualities? Only six. So very few demoniac qualities I've given you. So therefore he says, Srunu, now you listen to me. Now he says, listen to me, Asurame. I'm going to tell you more about the demoniacal nature so that you can be aware, you can be careful not to fall into this destructive nature also. So now from verse number 7, he will start speaking to us about the demoniacal quality of people. Okay. So verse number 7, the first thing he says, Asura, the demoniacal Janaha people. So again, you see, he's stressing very much on human beings. Janaha here means human beings. And who are the Asuric human beings? Asuric human beings are those who give predominance to Kamaha. What is Kamaha? Pursuit of selfish desires. So there are 4 goals given to us in our life. Do you remember the 4 goals? Huh? What are the 4 goals? The 4 Purusharthas? Sorry? Somebody said that? Kama. Somebody said Kama, right? Kama, Kama, right? Okay. See, everybody remembers desires first. You forget what? The most important one. Moksha, everybody forgets. First thing is Kama. So, yes, okay. Dharma, Kama, Artha, Moksha. Okay. What is Dharma? Righteous living or righteous conduct. Okay. What is Kama? What are desires? Selfish desires. Artha, possessions. Okay. And then comes moksha. So, out of these 4 goals in life, demoniac people will give predominance to which of these 4 goals? Kama and artha, exactly. And to them, Dharma and moksha can wait. No problem, because if I don't attain in this life, I can come back next life and try again. No problem. So I give prominence to karma and artha. Excessive accumulation of possessions and what you call excessive pursuit of my desires also. They have very little or no value for dharma and moksha also. Now, next thing we must understand, it is not that the scriptures are against karma and artha. They are not saying don't pursue karma and artha. It is okay, but you must not get excessively carried away with karma and artha. Okay, so so he says, asura janaha, those who are of demoniac nature, the human beings who are of demonic nature, na vidur, they do not know. What do they do not know? They do not know what? Pravartim, what is to be done. They are confused, or either they have no knowledge or they don't want to know. Pravarti means what is to be done. What is to be done means what is the righteous conduct? What is the right way for me to lead my life? What is the purpose of this human birth? What is the goal of this human birth? They are not interested at all to know what is the right path, the righteous path. Okay, they don't care. If you tell them this, what you are doing will lead you to hell, they don't care. They are not interested. If you say that righteous path will lead you to heaven, they are not interested. So they are not interested to know pravritim, what is to be done, what is the right conduct. Second is, what do they do not know? Nivritim. One is pravritim, what is to be done. The other is nivritim, what is not to be done. What I should not do. I should not gamble. I should not drink alcohol. I should not cheat people. So they are not, they don't care about the difference between what is good and what is not good. They are totally confused on dharma and adharma. Okay. So as long as their desires drag them to do all the adharmic things, they will carry on. They are not interested at all to change their lives also. And they are too proud to seek knowledge also. So, in the many Upanishads and scriptures, also many stories are told about these three classes of beings, and the most famous story is told in the Brihad Aranyaka Upanishad. It is the story of Da, Da. I don't know if you all must have heard this story. It's a very popular story. It's called the story of Da. Now, what is this story? The three groups of beings, that is the Devas, the Asuras, and the human beings, all were not happy. They were, despite whatever they had, they were not happy. So they went to see Lord Brahma or Prajapati. They wanted to find out what is the secret to happiness. So the Devas with the Asuras and the human beings, they went to see God. And they asked the Lord, what is the secret of happiness? So they sat down, they meditated. God came, he told them one word, Da, Da, and he disappeared. So now all of them are wondering, what is this Da? He said, Da is the secret of happiness, but what is this Da? So the Devas went back to heaven, Asuras went back to hell, human beings went back to earth, and they started contemplating on this word Da. Devas understood Da to mean Dhamma, Dama, Dhamma. What is Dhamma? Dhamma means to discipline the senses. So what does this mean? Devas in heaven, they have all the enjoyments, everything they can enjoy. But despite all the enjoyment, they're still not happy. Why? Because they cannot control their senses. So their senses demand more and more and more enjoyments. So what is the secret of happiness for Devas? To bring a control to your senses. Be content with what you have. Asuras went back to hell. They contemplated on Da and they realized Da means Daya, Daya. Daya means compassion. So instead of hurting people and what you call physically hurting people and creating all kinds of nonsense, Daya, have compassion not to hurt others. And that's the secret of happiness. And what about human beings? How to find the secret of happiness through Da? To human beings, Da means dhanam, or to give charity. So through charity to find happiness by not hoarding your wealth but to share it with others. So here he says the asuras do not know what is right, what is wrong. They just lead a life according to their senses. What else they don't know? Saucham, what is purity? What is a pure life? How to maintain a pure mind? How to maintain a pure thoughts? Use pure words, use pure actions. They are very confused about that. Okay. So purity means, as we have discussed earlier, purity of the mind, purity of speech, and purity of the body also. And what else they do not know? Na achara. What is good conduct? They don't know the difference, or they don't care what is achara, good conduct. Na satyam, neither truthfulness. They are prone to telling lies to get out of all situations. They don't mind lying as much as they want. Okay. So therefore, these are some of the qualities he's starting to tell us about the demoniac people. So when we come back for the next class, we will look at the balanced qualities of demoniac people and their conduct also towards society, towards other people. Now for the next 2 weeks, next 2 Saturdays, we won't have class because next Saturday, this hall is going to be used for Bhajan Sandhya. So from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m., we've invited various groups. There is Sai Baba group and some other groups. They are coming here to perform bhajans. So everybody has got a 30-minute slot. You're most welcome to come in here. All the different type of bhajans being sung from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. And then the following Saturday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., we have the Mahabharat and Bhagavad Gita competition here. So we have about 200 people who have enrolled to come and take part in the competition. It will be held here and also at the hall downstairs. Okay. Again, you are welcome to come and what you call witness the competition. Only thing is you have to register. Okay, because there'll be meals to be served, so we need to know how many people are coming. Okay. So it's from morning to evening. So next 2 Saturdays, no class. We will resume back the following Saturday. Okay. We end with the prayer. वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचानूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं. Thank you.